Hello everybody and welcome to Let's Look at Choplifter HD, recently released for Xbox Live Arcade, Steam, and maybe PSN. My guess is that it probably is on PSN because it looks like they're trying to whore as much money with this release as they possibly can. Now, Choplifter is, of course, an old arcade/Atari, Sega Master System classic. They've pretty much released a version on every one of those classic consoles from like 20, 30 years ago. And, you know, Choplifter itself was a fine game. You drove a helicopter, you picked people up, you dropped them off, and occasionally you shot at people. And that's pretty much what you're getting here in this remake as well, and it is fucking terrible. And I mean, full disclosure here, I have not purchased the full game. I'm playing the trial, and this is the 5th mission of the trial. You'd think with the trial, they would actually give you something bombastic. I mean, remember the demo for BioShock? It starts off with a plane crash, and then there's all this exciting stuff happen. This is, essentially, like the title does not lie, this is Choplifter HD. They took the Atari game, they blew it up, they up-resed it, and here we are. So I'm driving this helicopter, and, you know, you can see on the timeline up there at the top, there are hostages that I have to rescue. Obviously, they've updated the setting a little bit. These are prisoners in a repressive Middle East regime, if you pause the video to look at the mission description. And I'm going to pick them up with my helicopter, and then I'm going to drop them off. And, you know, on the way, I'm going to kill some terrorists. And pretty much that's what you get for the duration of the game and the duration of this video. So, if you've seen this trip right here, you've pretty much seen it all. I mean, if you look in the top left, there's like a health meter for my ship, and it almost never goes down because I replenish my health so often at like almost every one of these stops. There's a fuel meter, which actually does sometimes become an issue, but largely you're not micromanaging any resources here. You're just left analog stick to the right, down, up, left analog stick to the left, back to base. And there's a turbo, and there's a gun, and there's missiles, and essentially that's it. Now, when I heard that they were making Choplifter HD, my immediate thought was just, why? I mean, Pac-Man obviously kind of restarted this trend, I suppose you could say, of taking these old classic arcade games and then up-resing them and making them, you know, a little bit more quote-unquote modern. I'm using like my marketing guy air quotes for that. And, you know, Pac-Man Championship Edition and both of the Pac-Man Championship Editions, actually, that came out were really, really good. So, I mean, good reason. I can understand why people want to do this stuff. And then, you know, Bionic Commando came out, and the first Bionic Commando reboot was actually okay. The second one sucked, and then, you know, Yar's Revenge came out, and that one sucked monumental dick. And here we have Choplifter, and my main problem with this is that I don't understand who this is for. Like, if you're a fan of the original Choplifter, first off, are you even going to own an Xbox 360? Secondly, are you going to feel that $15 is a good value for this game when you probably have a copy of the original or could easily emulate the original and get pretty much the same experience plus whatever, you know, rose-colored nostalgia you have? And, like, the Pac-Man stuff, again, it was kind of trippy, so it, like, appealed to maybe a younger demographic, and again, I'm not a business or marketing major, so take what I say with a grain of salt here. Obviously, it sold a lot of copies, and it was a great game. But with this, it's just, like, it's up-res, but it doesn't look unique. It just looks like a PS2 game, essentially, and I mean, to some extent, that is forgivable because it's an arcade game, but, I mean, you're charging $15 for this game, and that's really what blows my mind, is that I could easily get Choplifter, I mean, somewhat dubiously for free, obviously from the internet, using emulation. But I don't think Atari's going to go after anybody for, you know, pirating the 2600 or the Sega Master System version of Choplifter at this point. Why would I pay $15 for what's essentially the same game that, you know, doesn't even look that good blown up on my TV, whether it's in 720p or 1080i or who really gives a crap? At $5, I can maybe justify making this purchase, but for $15, this seems like a ridiculously poor value, and it really just seems like a cash-in, and that's the part that irks me the most, is that clearly they were like, okay, we sold a lot of copies of Bionic Commando, we sold a lot of copies of Pac-Man. Again, I don't know if it's the same studios making these, I'm kind of talking out of my ass, but obviously the trend does exist. What other arcade games can we essentially pillage the legacy of in order to make a quick dollar? And I guess Choplifter is the next best one that they could find, but I don't know. Long story short, this game, at least so far, is pretty colossally bad. And I mean, the reason I haven't been commenting on the gameplay is because the gameplay is so much the same. I mean, all the stuff that you saw in that first minute, you're going to see over again. The only thing that changed here is that I picked up a reporter instead of a prisoner. So now we get some kind of, you know, semi-humorous, I'll admit, news crawl down at the bottom about how Scoop Sanderson is, you know, a megalomaniac. And actually, I almost ran out of fuel at the end of this run, which is probably the closest thing to any excitement I have ever had while playing the trial of Choplifter HD so far. Basically, the reason I wanted to put this video out is not even so much for entertainment value, although of course I do hope you're entertained by my tirades as usual, But mainly because this game just came out, and I don't want anybody that follows me. Oh, hey, Victor Cutlass. I don't want anybody that follows me or anyone in my audience to think, you know, this is a good game to be picking up, especially for $15. Definitely do not be fooled. If you see this game, tell your friends. Do not buy it. $15 seriously blows my mind. That's not just on Xbox 360, by the way. That's on Steam as well. I mean, it's on $12.75 this week, but still. As always, thank you guys for watching. Definitely do not buy Choplifter HD.